get a life insurance policy, everything, your bike, your house goes to the club when you're fast. My name is Bob. I'm a retired member of the Outlaws Motorcycle Club in Canada, and I'm chatting with Stacks.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Stacks. I'm your host, Bill Stacks, and today I got retired 1%er Bob from Biker News Canada.
What do you think I'm up to?
Oh man, did they arrest you a lot? Did you get in trouble a lot?
Me not so much. I got shook down a lot, but the other thing the Holmes was very good for. I always loved that man. He was such a smart man. That's why his name was Sherlock Holmes. That's it wasn't, hey Holmes. It was Sherlock Holmes. And he knew everything. So he made sure that everyone in the club knew how and what we were allowed to say and not say on a traffic stop, on any sort of stop. And we left it that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was one time when the one brother had me out on the driveway. I was a probate, and me and Goody were bringing something in the clubhouse, and this cop stops and starts walking up our clubhouse driveway. Well, he puts his hand out like that, right? Well, your natural reaction is going to be, "Hey, how you doing?" Well, so I look at the guy, and Goody looks at the guy, and he goes, "Hey, listen, man. You're not getting a picture circulating of me shaking a cop's hand."
Oh man,
they
could destroy your whole club that way.
Yeah, just wow, the crazy tricks that these coppers will do, man. They went to Hammer's old lady. They showed her a video of him taking some other chick into the clubhouse on the night that we weren't, open, right?
Oh my god.
They were
they're pulling all the dirty tricks out.
And they had a big sting in Ontario, in Canada, and it created a big flag called the Mr. Big interrogation style. So they'll take a guy who they can't get inside of his whatever he's doing. They can't unlock him for whatever reason, right? So they befriend him, and then they take him to a meeting with another guy who's supposed to be the big boss. And the big boss says, "Well, I'm not going to do any sort of dirt with you until you tell me about the worst thing you've ever done." And he blabs it out, and it's in a taped room, and he's done, right?
Yeah.
And so they call it the Mr. Big investigation.
Yeah, I've heard of them doing that in Canada, matter of fact.
Yeah, so they do that. So the criminal world in Canada ain't that big, so we all know each other, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows who's got what and who does what and who's driving what. Everyone knows, right? And so that's the only way they can get into us.
So when all the other things were happening, like with the Hells Angels, when they killed their own, you weren't in the club yet. That was in the 80s, right?
Oh, back there down in Quebec and all that. Yeah.
So what were your thoughts on that when that happened?
See that's why it gives you up. It gives the other clubs all the material they need to attract members that might have went that way or this way or whatever, because they say, "Look at," you know what I mean? And this is some of the bullshit I've heard that I have no idea if it's true, and I don't think it is. They make you get a life insurance policy, everything, your bike, your house goes to the club when you're fast, blah blah blah. This thing happened down in Montreal. They took out 6 or whatever it was, their own guys. Like, is that what you want to get involved in? So it loads up all the other teams with all that ammunition, right?
Yeah.
Or the cops. It loads up everybody with the ammunition. It happened, I guess.
What about Wayne Kaliststein? Have you ever heard of him in the Banditos?
Wayne Kaliststein was a London outlaw.
Was he?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Absolutely. So he was around as I was coming up and through the criminal little world in London. So everyone knew, stay the fuck away from Wayne. He's insane. He was a London outlaw, and they were like, we like Wayne, but he's insane. Yeah, they they don't want to get rid of him the bad way, but he can't keep representing the club, acting like he does, right? So they talked him into starting this other club called the Annihilators. So he started this club called the Annihilators, a single chapter club. It was going to be an outlaw support club. And that's actually where Bandit came from. But so, anyways, he had it going. He did it. He had 2 chapters. He had 20 guys. He was off. He could attract people. He was he was charismatic. Willie's warning to me was always if you go to a thing out there when it starts to get dark, just make an excuse and come on home. Because the whole thing changes and everything changes at night.
Yeah, with liquor changes a lot of things too.
Well, it turns out he's a screaming head. So what do you do with a guy like that? And he's armed to the teeth. There's one time me and Willie were walking through the bike show, and we run into Wayne, and he stays like 30 feet away from us, and he's looking us both up and down, and we're looking him up and down. He's got the long leather long rider jacket, and he's probably got about 4 or 5 guns in it. And so he's like, "Are we okay?" And Willie's like, "Absolutely, brother. Are we okay?" "Yep, just checking, making sure, bro." And that was it.
So he was a member before you.
Oh yeah, years and years for me. Yeah, yeah. He was probably like one of the originals of the chapter or something when they became outlaws in London, right? Because it was another case of a smaller club patching in, right? It wasn't a Satan's Choice club, but it was a one chapter. I think it's called the Holocaust, patched in London. And so then I don't know what happened. Oh, I do. Wayne went to jail for a long time. So Wayne went to jail for a long time. The Annihilators folded up. Bandit came to the Outlaws, got his patch, ended up being my sponsor. It's all kind of linear here. And then Wiener gets out. So now the landscape changes again. Because every time one of these either goes in or comes out, the landscape changes in the city, right?
Yeah.
Who's chilling with who's talking about who's got little things in their pocket, and who's got some for everything, right? So all of a sudden he's back and the lead's back in the air, and it's like, oh, dude, we had it nice and quiet. The name of the game is to tamp down the fires and keep it quiet, right? It's the only way that you're going to make a good living, and nobody cares. And you know you're under investigation, and you do what you do anyway. You open a car lot business, and away you go. You know what I mean? Like every other criminal does.
Ain't that the truth?
So Wiener gets out, and he wants to be I think maybe a loner at one point, and then he wants to be a bandito at another point. And I think he was flirting with the Hells Angels, and they're like, "No, bro, we know you."
What was you guys' relationship with the Banditos back then?
Well, back then it was the same as the Rock Machine. You know, an enemy of my enemy is a friend of mine relationship. When I first got my patch, I went to Bike Week with Bandit, and I was fortunate enough to meet like some of the leadership, national leadership from the Banditos at that time. It was interesting, man. It was really interesting. But yeah. So anyways, so Wiener, at the end there, he become a bandito, and he was in contact. According to the book I read, that's all I got to go on, bro. It's a book I read, you read, you know, the Shed Massacre, whatever it was called. You know, it had, and you know what about? I can't remember when in the year that happened, but on the bike show weekend, which was every February, we used to have the big bike show in London.
2009. It happened in 2009, I believe.
Okay, so the bike show weekend in February, we had all the Banditos in our clubhouse on the one night. And then on Saturday night, we had all the Hells Angels in our clubhouse. So we were trying to we'll be in the middle. We'll keep everything calm. Nobody take a bum rush at nobody. And it should all work out, which it worked out if you're a Hells Angel.
2006.
Yeah.
It happened.
Yeah, so that year we had all them guys that are victims. were standing in my clubhouse having drinks in February of that year. Yeah.
Well, so you knew them guys.